My name is Davis Wardwell. I'm 18
My
years
name's
old.
Lisa
My name is
Hannon.
Noah Blunt. I'm the student pastor here
Trio
at Longtime.
Quinn. I'm actually Charlie's cousin.
David Thomas, here with Charlie.
Austin Gregory. Thank you for having
My
me.
name is Donovan
My name is
Jones.
Micah Aver. I'm a student at Lounge High
All
School.
right. Well, Mr. Charlie, you're going to lead us out here tonight on your Young Minds podcast.
All right, welcome back to the podcast. I'm so glad to have Davis back on with us. Dude, you are now a podcast regular now.
Whoop, whoop.
And so that means you've been on 5 times, so people have not know what that means. But you are going to interview me like you did for episode 100 because this is the final episode of 2025. So we're just going to kind of wrap things up. And so I guess we're getting episode 2 of the Davis Minds podcast today.
That's right.
So,
Yep.
Yes, sir. All right, so what's your first question, bro?
All right, let's kick it off. How would you describe what this year has been like for you in one word?
Ooh, one word, bro.
I wanted to give you the hardest question first.
Not real. Kind of cliche, but challenging. And if I had another word to it, I would say challenging but rewarding.
Yeah.
Because, so much was going on. Like, I remember me and Gavin, we went on that trip, to that film festival. And then, right as I get back, I'm on the spiritual high, right? Like, I'm like, oh my gosh, we just met, one of the Kindred brothers, went to this amazing thing, it was a Christian-related, event. And then I get in the car with Mom, and she's like, by the way, I got let go from my job. And I was like, whoa, okay, that's heavy. And of course, I'm kind of like freaking out like, internally. Like, I wasn't showing it, but I'm like, what are we going to do?
Right.
Because we're not rich, okay? But we're like, Mom's never made me have to worry about money or anything like that. I've never had to stress about it. There's nothing And so, but I'm at the age now where I know what that really means. Like, I get it. If somebody doesn't have a job in our family, what am I going to do? Because, yes, Dad brings money in, but, like, for the fun stuff and all that we do, Mom, that's where all that comes from is her job. And, so I was worried in, a lot of ways, and that kind of did impact, just everyday life, for a while, right?
All right.
It impacted the podcast, I would say. Like my consistency. Well, I was consistent for the whole, I got an episode out every week, but it was a lot harder,
Mm-hmm.
and all these spiritual things going on. I've got maybe this going on or that going on. And on top of all of that, I didn't have it. And then, with the spiritual side of it, still Mom hasn't found a job yet at this point. I've got people yelling in my ear left and right. Like, you got to do this, you got to do that, you got to do that. And I was like, whoa. And I know we've all experienced that with, with just growing up in general, right? And what is your next step after high school? We've all experienced that. And I'm not opposed to somebody asking me, hey, what are you going to do next? But it's can I breathe a little bit? Right. I just got out of high school, and not everybody knows what they're going to do. And so, that was kind of I think honestly my brain, I got to the point where I was so tired of it that I would almost in my head make it I was angry about it. Every time I'd hear it, I'd be like, oh my gosh, unless if it was a certain person, because I knew they meant it in a nice way. But there were some people that would push my buttons about it. It was hold on, I don't know. And then there was the whole driver's license thing, which, dude, oh my gosh, I'm glad I've got that over now. But it was a really big thing. It was kind of similar to that. I was how am I gonna, it was a fear of mine, I guess. And I knew I had to get it done, but I really didn't have the drive and want to do it. So I was like, what? Once I drive, we don't have another vehicle. And then I knew that there's no way we could afford one because Mom doesn't have a job, right? So why do it? And people were nagging me about it. And I get they were just trying to push me along. And I get that. They were trying to help. But they didn't understand the position we were in. And so you have to kind of, before you put your 2 cents in, see where people are at first. That's important. And that's one of the biggest things that God's taught me. Hey, if you're on the other side of that, make sure people know where, make sure you know where they're at in the situation before you stick your 2 cents in. Because yes, I'll help you and talk you through things, but also, we need to know where you're at first before I even, say anything, because that may be the wrong thing, right?
Right.
And like I said, they were trying to help, but one week I served at, I won't say who, they know who they are, but I'm not trying to call them out, but served at Northside Summer Camp, took photos. And it was fun, but that whole week they were nagging me about it. The whole week. And I just could not. It was driving me crazy. Like I was like, why don't you ask me about other things like the podcast or ask me how photos are going? Like, and that's just something that because people think that I'm like, I'm on God's time, bro. I'm not on yours. Like, I know that you want me to do this and do this and do this and this. And that's one of the things. Our life gets so busy and so fast, right? It's like, let me slow down for a minute. And that was one of the things that I wanted people to realize when I said this. I'm not, again, calling people out, but, you need to see where people are at because they didn't know about, or if I did, I tried to explain it to them, but they just didn't get it. Like I would try to explain to them the insurance thing or the job thing or whatever. And they would, instead of listening, they would have something else to say right after. Right. And like, that's one of the biggest things my mom always tells me is that, listen more than you speak. Right? Mm-hmm. Listen to what they're saying before you have a response. And it kind of got me combative a little bit, and they were combative because they were trying to get their next point. And I'm like, thanks for your help, but it's not helping.
Right.
Just being honest.
And it gives a bit of perspective because so many times it's so easy for us to give our opinion on someone else's life without considering the actual perspective of the whole thing.
Right.
And from a Christian perspective, that brings me back to the fact that no matter what, there's only one person who really knows the entire situation.
Bingo. And and just to give some background, the reason why Davis is doing this one is because he knows more about it than most people do. Plus, we're accountability partners, so I figured that was perfect. But and again, you're one of the few that did know, and so you came alongside me, and thank you for that. Helped me through all that because it was like it drove me up the wall. Like I'm just being honest, like it drove me crazy. And I think I let that really it mentally drag me down because again, I didn't have a job either. I do now, praise God, and we'll talk about that later. But it just also made me feel like that people were looking at me and I wasn't doing, and they were like, oh, what's he doing? Is he making me think that I wasn't doing anything? Or people were saying that about me? And they weren't. But in my head, I was like, are they saying that? Mm-hmm. Because it feels like it. Right. Are they looking at me and going, what's he doing? It seems like he's just sitting on his butt, and I didn't want it to be that way. I wanted to contribute. I wanted to do what other people are doing. But, in God's timing, not in, their time where I just go do something right after, I graduated. But yeah, I think that's about it on that question. I'll probably tie all that in with some of the questions you've got.
No, that was good. The next one is, what was the biggest moment from this year for the podcast?
Good. That's a big one. I would definitely say the 3-year anniversary. That was a big one. Not just because it's an anniversary one, but the reception I'm getting from it. Mm-hmm. Like I'm still getting people. Pastor Robbie tells me, he's like, I had somebody that was a younger guy came up to me and said, he was like, man, that was fun. Like I had really enjoyed that. And I was like, and I felt like it was more intimate in the teaching room for one thing. But also just the questions I think were better. And it just as a whole, like the guests I've had this year, like sure I've slowed down, but the guests have been absolutely awesome. Not that they haven't been awesome every single year. But like just the people that I'm bringing on, that they have a lot more to say. It's not just cut and dry where they answer the question and move on. Mm-hmm. Which again, you need those episodes too. So I'm not saying like those episodes are bad. But the people that really expand on the questions and really dive deep into it, and we start that conversation and get it going. That's one example I can tell you is Trip Perry. His was a big one, not for like viewership wise, because it was actually a top 10 now.
How about that?
Yeah, but like. I just remember sitting down with him thinking he's younger than me, and this is crazy good how he's talking, how God's working in him, and also Asher Barker was another one like that. And again, they're both young guys, which I think that's why it was encouraging to me. They are walking in their faith. They walked in their faith longer than I have. And so you talk about people that argue like, well, they can't be a mentor to you because they're younger than you. That's not the truth, because I'll tell you right now, they could be mentors to me because they've been walking with God all their life. I've not. And right. So that's where you have to look at it. And, there's just a few highlight episodes like that. Not that, again, I'm like not trying to compare episodes, but the people do stand out. Mm-hmm. God does highlight certain ones in my head when I'm like, what was a really good conversation? Like when you came out of it, like what was a really good one? And those stand out as a few. But I'll say the 3-year was the biggest moment. There's probably something that's escaping my mind. Well, this wasn't from this year, but it was last year. The biggest one from then was the hurricane episode. And the more and more I sat on it, thought on it, it was different, but also it was needed at a certain time because people were loved it. They were like, this is so cool. We're getting to hear how people and God's working in our town, like in our present moment. And some of them, it was like, I walked up to them. I walked to some of the Baptist Relief people that were at Northside, and I'm like, can I do this? Like, I felt so awkward walking up to them and sticking a camera in their face. But they were more than happy to oblige. And so, yeah, I would say for last year, that one. And then for this year, definitely the 3-year anniversary. And, I'm praying for another big moments and, next year too. So
Yeah, there might be another one of those for the 4 years.
I think so. Honestly, I think there might be one sooner than that. The way that Pastor Robbie was talking. And I'm not like saying anything. Pastor Robbie told me, he told me the other day with that guy that he said, they loved it so much. And I mean, I'm getting that reception from young and old. So like, that's really cool. But one of the things that I think we'll be able to, he was like, maybe in 6 months we'll do another one. I was like, really? Please. I am not complaining. And, but one of the funniest things about that, Mom, we sat down before we started and she's like, I'm so proud of you, but why do you do this to yourself? I'd be a nervous wreck up there. And I'm like, oh, I'm nervous too. You can't tell it. Yeah. Like, I'm really nervous, and that's God right there helping me through it. Because, I'm nervous. Because, you guys are right in the front row looking right at me. And then everybody's looking at me, And then also, and this was like a small thing, but I wanted to make sure I got your last name right. Because I didn't want to say it wrong. After all of the talks that we had about, people were saying like, oh, you got somebody got your last name wrong. So when I said your name, I really focused in on your name. I was like, don't say it wrong.
And you got it.
I did. I got it right. I was like, yes, I got it right. But yeah, I would definitely say that's the biggest moment for sure.
What was the biggest challenge for the podcast this year? And I'll ask you some more personal questions later, but as the podcast, what was the biggest challenge?
I would say, consistency was like, and that consistency and finding people are getting a little harder. Now, not that they're not there. I just need to find them, right? I feel like some of the Northside people, like, there's probably way more people at Northside that I could probably interview. However, in this, again, if you're listening to this and you're at Northside, do not take this the wrong way, but I think it's kind of true. You've got your people that really serve in the church and they keep it going, and then you've got your people that just are there on Sundays. And like they're not really serving in a ministry. Well, I'm not going to notice you if you're just on there on Sundays. I'm going to notice you if you are serving in the church. If you because I'm not trying to put myself like on a pedestal or anything, but God's got me doing that too. So if I notice you're serving alongside me, things like that, I'm going to notice, and I'm like, hey, we need to interview you. You've got a spiritual heart. You're serving God. But if you're just there on Sundays and not serving, it's kind of hard to notice that. And there may be way more people that would tell the story if they did. But, it's just kind of, and I hate to be rude about it, but it's just kind of the way it is. I won't notice you as much. Right. Like, there's plenty of people at the 10:30 service, and I'm like, who are half of them? I don't know who they are, because, again, and they may be serving in areas that I just don't go to much. And if that's the case, great. Contact me and we'll get something going. But it is difficult to, I think the Northside train a little bit starting to die down just a tad in terms of people like I can interview. Not to say that I'm already talking with some people, which is great. But I'm going to start hopefully expanding out to other churches, because I'm not Northside exclusive. It's Young Men's, So expanding out maybe, Crossroads, Cross Point, all them, and see where we can go from there.
Yeah. While we're on the topic of Northside, how has it been working at Northside since you got a job recently there?
Okay. I'm going to be careful about how I word some of this, but I don't want to get fired from doing, All right. So, it has been a very interesting couple months to be working there, like officially, right? Because for years, pretty much when I started and I got saved, I was volunteering up there in the media stuff, and I helped Noah like summer of 23. And Gavin came in and did it. And I did actually apply for that position, did not get it, for the actual driver's license thing, which is, kind of full circle now. He came in, and then he quit doing it for a while, but I was there helping him. I was always there, in the background, regardless if in these last few years. Well, then, and at that point, after I didn't get it, I was like, well, I'm apply again. It kind of hurt. So to be honest, it did. So I just was like, I don't want to apply again. Don't want to go through that. So I, just went on about my life, and again was in this time of what am I going to do? I don't have a job. Like I said earlier. When Jeff, he walks up to me during me and Mom both during dinner, and he says, do you want to help me do this graphic stuff again? And I'll be honest, I hesitated. After everything, I hesitated. But in the end, I said yeah. I mean, partly because it really felt different. Because this time, I'm not coming to him; he's coming to me. He needs it. There's a need for it, and so he comes to me, and I found out later he was restaffing his whole staff. It was just him for a little bit. So he restaffed media. So me, got Audrey as his assistant, and then you've got the orchestra leader, Danny Rodriguez, and then so he restaffed all three of us in all three of those positions, and it's crazy because it's pretty cool. He's the oldest on his own team. We're all young. We're extremely young, and and working with Audrey and Danny, I don't get to see Danny's much, but working with Audrey is a treat. She's always brings laugh to the office when we need them, because sometimes, as in every job, it can get stressful. Especially in ministry, because you got a bunch of time crunches. You got to get stuff done before this Sunday. You got to check it, triple check it, whatever. Especially if you're me, because you make a lot of mistakes. Right. Yeah. And so it's been good. Not to say there hasn't been some humps on the road. Noah's done a great job. Helping me along. Being one of the previous media specialists, he's helping me along. I'm actually doing the budget booklet right now, which I won't get into too many details about that thing, but it's just driving me up the wall a little bit. But
so when we all read it, we can know that you got to make it. So.
That's right. And I don't say that to be like, oh yeah, look at this, the thing I made or whatever. And that's another thing I've had to kind of, I guess in some sense, just kind of fuck it up. I knew it going in, so it really didn't bother me. But you do these big old booklets, you do the slides, you do that or whatever, and maybe two people may look at it, look at it well, so they don't, they're, they may glance at it and be done. It's not gonna be oh, I'm gonna hyperanalyze all the slides that we're doing. But and yeah, as a media guy, what I wish they would look at it more. Yeah, because we all put, not just me, but Noah and Jeff and I all put a lot of effort into building whatever it is. And I hope maybe me saying that, people will look at it stuff more, because our job is to communicate to the church what's coming, what we're doing, things like that, and just doing quick glances. Guess what? People still asked. We put the stuff out there every week, and so that's something that it doesn't really bother me too much. But there's a part of me that's it's up there. Why don't you take a look at it? But I'd be more than happy to tell you what the event is, regardless, because I'm not going to be rude. But that is just something that you kind of have to, and it's not something I've really learned now. I've just kind of already known it. But you kind of have to just be whatever, It's part of the job. And, sure, it doesn't bother me every now and then. On big projects, yes. But, it's just part of it. But you do know that you're appreciated by the staff. At least me. I've gotten thanked by them, and, they tell me things look good, things like that. And so that's enough. And of course I make Mom look at the stuff, so I'm like, hey, look up there, you better. Or so, and I told her, I remember the first next Northside card I did, I was like, you better grab that thing. You better grab it, and so I was messing around with her a little bit about that. But, other than that, it's been really good. It's not to say there's not some stressful times like now, right now I'm fixing to go on a trip in 2 weeks, as you know, and we're trying to get Christmas ready and all that. And it's a lot to do. For one person, but thankfully, like I said, Noah and Jeff have come alongside me to help me with some of those things. But not to say it's still not stressful, though, So there are stressful moments, but, I kind of landed on the lottery for my first job. It's
not too bad.
No, not at all. I'm getting paid. It's only part-time. Sure, I work some more hours than what I'm getting paid for, but that's part of it. It's part of ministry. And, so it's not too bad. There might be some times where I'm like, I'm going to stick my head into a wall, but that's every job. So, but yeah, other than that, it's been really good.
Let's see here. How did your relationship with God grow or change this year?
Good one.
Hopefully it's grow.
Yeah. Oh, I would definitely say grow, especially with all the personal stuff. I tell you, like, one of the things, and it was actually during when we do one of our talks, you said something about, and not that I have, so I'm not like, but you said something about, like, in your prayer, you said, thank you, God, for, giving me somebody that we don't have to hide anything from each other, right? I don't know why, and I know that we don't, but I don't know why. When you said that, something in my head just kind of like, because again, we all fall short every day, we all do. And you know what I struggle with. And so I don't know why, but like it made me like more aware of it again for some reason. Like it just like clicked harder. I don't know. Like it's weird because I knew it was a struggle, right? But like when you said that, it just like hit me harder for some reason. I don't know. Like God does that in all these, in weird ways. So sure, have I struggled? Yes. But also, there's been a lot of moments, and I did an episode recently with my friend Antoine, and he was talking about, you need, and we were talking after, and about all the stuff, like, I'm busy, bro. Like, I'm really busy. And he's like, you need to take rest, and that's one of the biggest things that, I think he's teaching me and I'm learning, especially with this job, is like, I've got to like slow down a little bit. Cause I feel like I'm always going like, 5,000 miles an hour. Right. And just, and I hope this trip will do that. But definitely, growing, I think in an improvement I could use, and I think it's always going to be this, is, diving into my word better. Like, I'll do it, but like, understanding what it's saying, or, reading until like I learn something, like, cause I know we talked about it, but sometimes it is still hard to implement those habits, cause it takes like a month to implement a habit,
right.
And so it's really, especially when you have those busy schedules like that, sometimes it like can feel like you're checking a box, and I know there's got to be at least once or twice that when we've said, hey, I've read, it felt like we just checked a box, because it felt like that for me too sometimes.
Yep.
And so getting better about that, because people, they will often say scripture, which I've heard, and I know, like, I'm like, oh yeah, I know what that is, but like I couldn't tell you where it's at, or like, just getting better about learning like the Bible itself. Because in those 3 years I've tried, but I need to find some like different mediums to do it, because I can't just do it by myself. Like, and let's be real, because I need some. I think what would help. People are like, well, discipleship works as part of having the time to do it. Like you have to meet with that person and things like that. And again, I'm not trying to make excuses, but people do have busy schedules, and so that's one of the things I want to challenge myself and for you too. That we can get into the Word, but also understand what it's saying, and not just read it to read it, so that we just check the box off. Because I know I've done it, I'm guilty of it. So, and I know that we all have at some point, or another. So.
For sure.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. If you could tell yourself one piece of advice that you have learned over the last year, what would it be? So looking back at yourself a year ago, what would you tell yourself?
Ooh. This was a joke. There's another one, but this is a joke. Hold on, because it's about to get crazy. No, I wouldn't. I would say, you could use that one. But breathe, because it's going to be just fine. Because I was feeling that, like the whole, I don't know where I'm going next a year ago. I just didn't know what the purpose was. Like, I knew I was doing the podcast, and like, again, that's really fulfilling, but I'm not making money from it. And again, that's not the reason why I do it. But unfortunately, that's what makes this world go round, is a job and money and all this stuff, And so I think, I would, if I had to say something, I'd be like, just hold on, breathe, because it's something's coming. Like if I had to tell myself from a year ago, I would definitely say that. And then also, cling on to the people that you've got. That's one of the biggest things that 2025 has given me, is a really good group of friends, even though like half of them don't even like interact with each other, right? I just see them in different groups. It's maybe, I don't know, like 8, I don't know, but like my circle's gotten smaller, which I'm fine with that. Like I'm more than fine with that, because my thing is, those are all real friends. I know, like for you, for example, if I said, hey, can you pray for me about this, you will do it, and you have done it. Like some people, they're like, oh yeah, I'll pray about it, and they never do it. But I know if I told you to pray about something for me, you do it. And that is, there's more qualities for a true friend than that. But, I just know that they're all real and not fake people. Because there's so many fake people in today's world. They try to be all chummy and stuff because they just want something or whatever. Mm-hmm. And so, that's one thing for sure I'm thankful for 2025. But I would also be, for sure, I would say, just hold on and breathe. Just, because something good's coming, and I think a year ago, I was probably, once that whole job thing hit, I was worried that I wasn't going to be able to keep the podcast up consistently. I was like, how am I going to do it? Like, there's no way, and that goes through my head every single year. As I enter in a year, I'm like, how am I going to do it? Like, I've done it for 3 years, but I'm just like, God, what next?
Right. Yeah.
And I will say, this is the year that going into the fourth one, this is the one where I literally have no idea. But that might be the funnest thing. It might be the funnest one. Who knows? Because I have no idea where it's going to go.
Well, it's hard to rely on God until you got to rely on God. So.
Yeah, I try.
Well, we've kind of dove into the past and reflected.
Yeah.
Let's dive into the future.
Ooh, all right.
What's one spiritual goal you want to set for yourself next year?
Good. Well, like I said, the reading thing, that's a big one. But also, and he's not wrong in this. Like, I've had people, they were talking about like sharing the gospel more, right? Like directly, right? I can say like a verse here and there or whatever, like the Bible says this, blah, blah, blah. But like directly, outright, like, having the boldness to do that, even if it's in a restaurant or like through my waitress, or because we talk about those things in church all the time. But like, do we do them? I don't think so. I mean, if you do, great. But that is definitely even if it's a mission trip or just here in Valdosta or wherever, just being that salt and light to people. I mean, because especially because again, we don't know what people are going through, and we need to kind of catch them where they're at. Because that one thing of just being nice to somebody or whatever may just change their whole outlook on how their day's going. And I know that's kind of cliche, but I mean it's true. I mean, I've had somebody say something to me, and it just flipped my whole day around. Right. And so I would definitely say people are like, what do you mean being more bold? You are on the pod. Yeah, but I'm kind of hiding behind a mic, right? I'm not directly going out and, like preaching the gospel, or telling people the gospel. And that's definitely something I know I need to get better at, because it like gives me the willies, because like you want to tell people the right thing, right? Which again, there's gonna be nerves, right? That's expected. But I definitely say that's one of the spiritual goals, and I know they will keep me accountable for it to do so for 2026 for sure. So
that's a good answer.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Let's dive into some of the podcast future questions here.
Yeah.
How do you want to see God use this podcast in this coming year?
Well, I would say that's the obvious one: reach more people, right? But in terms of maybe, God maybe expanding the mediums that we can do it in. So like video and like maybe a studio, things like that. And those are always been kind of like dreams or wants of mine, but also I think it would be beneficial. So for example, like this episode, right? More people may find this one if they see a newer one that's got a video one. They may they will find the older episodes. Mm-hmm. And that's happened. People are like, I wonder what else he's got. And they'll go dig and find old episodes. And so that's already happening, but I want it to happen on a more bigger scale. And maybe that's just me being impatient. Right. In terms of wanting things to happen faster than they're gonna. But that would be a big thing for me, for it to, for like maybe like a studio, things like that. Because every big podcast you look at, and again, I don't like to compare myself, even though in the back of my head I do. What do they have? They've got in the camera set up, they have a team behind them. Even if it's a small team, they've got a team behind them. And that'd be like really cool. But I don't want to be like a tyrant either. Like I'd be like, no, we have to do this. I just think it'd be really neat, to be able to do that. And then, but also on the flip side of that, you've got people that I feel like would not. I would keep the audio option only as I keep it as an option, because you'd have some people that would not. They would refuse to be on video, like straight up. But they just wouldn't do it. And I get that. Like and it depends on the day. I mean, I don't want to be on video, so I get that. so I would keep both options open. And now, I mean, I've stepped into it a little bit with some of the episodes I've done like online, like with my buddy Antoine, Donald, Cody, all them. Those are on like a camera. You can see our faces, which that's really cool.
Mm-hmm.
However, they're not high quality, like so it's pretty much like you're still listening to audio. And I mean, and my thing about it is, yes, there's the money thing involved, all that. And I was thinking about it. I'm like, that's what's partly, growing and all that, just in general with podcasts, with the film, like, with filming it and all that. But also, where do people listen to them? They don't listen to them like, they listen to them in the car. And I hope, please, I'm praying if you do, because you need to like pay attention to the road. If you're watching a podcast while you're driving, you're listening to it. You're not watching it,
right.
So there's like I'm still trying to find it, like that happy medium, too. But I think that'd be it'd be partly, and it'd just be cool, like to have a studio, dude. It'd be like so sick. I could stick all like the stuff that people have made me, because people have made me stuff. Like they've made me a blanket, they've made me a painting of the lion, which is wild, and a few other things. And I think it would just be, it would be more professional, which but I don't know. Maybe this is part of the charm. I have no idea. I'm just doing it this way.
Right.
And some people like it this way. And so, unfortunately, you're not going to make everybody happy with, like, if you move on and, like, think about, I can't really think of a specific example, but, like, I'm sure there are some people, well, okay, here's one. Some people, they probably weren't happy when Northside changed their, expanded their sanctuary. They liked it the way it was, right? But it needed to happen for things to grow, right? And so some people may not like the video, the production side of it, but unfortunately, that's where content's going, and if you want to keep up and get your message out there, even though there's a bunch of people doing the exact same thing and the same goal, you've kind of got to follow along with it. Unfortunately, it just takes some time,
Yep.
And I'm like thinking to myself, good Lord, how long is that going to take? Because I'm an impatient person, but I think it'll happen one day. I think it will, and hopefully we'll get you to be the first one in there in the new studio if we do it.
Well, I look forward to it.
Yes, sir.
So how can people best keep up with, and
Mm-hmm.
what are all the ways people can follow you, listen?
Yeah. So right now, the biggest thing I'm trying to grow right now is YouTube, and that, again, want to specify that's free. You can subscribe for free. I'm not taking your information, especially if you're older and you're listening. I'm not taking your information, not taking your bank statements, none of that. Okay, I'm not doing that. You can subscribe there, leave a hopefully positive review on Apple Podcast, and also you can, I think, star it on Spotify. That's a big one. Also, I do have a website too that has merch on it now. I've not really kept it up that much. It's just kind of difficult to do. That might be something I may have to, if it goes down for a bit, that's okay. I might have to revisit that in the future, like if I do have a team or whatnot. That's one of the things that people don't realize is the majority of the time I'm coming up with the questions and I'm running the whole thing. And so it's hard to, as one person, do all of it. And so the website kind of fell to the wayside a little bit. I was really excited about it when I first started, and I was like, boy, this is a bit too difficult to run this and do all this. And then, or like when I try to do YouTube shorts, right? That was something we announced, and I was like, oh, it'll be cool, whatever. Try to do it at the beginning of the year. It just was like, that was one thing that kind of fell to the wayside, because it was a small thing, but something had to give, because I was already kind of pushing the limit, of what I can do as a person. Now if I had somebody that could do that and this and that, we could get more consistent about them. And I pray that's what will happen in the future. So,
right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the best direct way to fund the podcast is through merchandise, right?
Yes.
And so is there any big merchandise plans for next year? Any ideas?
Well, I know people have, Dad and I have thrown the idea around of beanies. Like
beanies.
When it gets cold, put beanies, because not everybody likes a hoodie, but they can put something on their head, or like maybe, I know a lot of women, they've requested crew necks, because they don't like the hood on the back of the hoodie, but it's pretty much a hoodie without the hood, which I'm down to about anything. Koozies, putting, for people's drinks. Look, you can literally stick that leg on anything, which is, there's nothing like, we've thought of things, but, there's nothing like in the works right now per se. Cause I still need to get consistent about those things that I'm already producing, selling a lot, cause they're it's kind of, you go through phases. You go through a bunch of people will buy this and then they won't. And then that's how it is right now. But, because you have to constantly have money coming in to make more merchandise things and all that. But hey, I'm just saying, if you want, you could drop something in the comments if you want to. Make a suggestion. I'm down for that. Within reason. If it's, I ain't gonna do it if it's absolutely outrageous. I'm like,
What would you define as outrageous?
Oh boy, there's gonna be somebody that's gonna be, because somebody's told me this, and I'm like, I'm not doing that. Young man's underwear, not doing it. I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. Watch it. Somebody was gonna do it, like a third party developer. They're just gonna grab my logo and just do it. Please don't do that. I'm asking you, please. And somebody said you should stick your face on them. I'm like, no, I'm not doing that either. No. Now, one thing that I think would be fun is, I know that I'll have to ask him. I know that Will McKee has some socks that have Daniel Hogman's face on them. I would wear some Young Minds socks, bro. Because church people are with their crazy socks. I would wear some Young Minds socks. I would so do that.
Have you thought about selling Young Minds blankets?
No, but that's so good. No, I've not.
Get outside the clothes market and enter a new world of marketing.
Hey, I would do it. That one blanket that I have, and of course it was made, but it was it's crazy. Because I asked her, I said, so what did you have to do? And she said each individual color was it's a new stitch. And so you have to, because she stitched the whole thing. And I'll tell you, those blankets if I sold one, it wouldn't be like that. No. So think about this. So each individual yellow, each individual red, if it changed just a smidge, it was a different stitch. Mm-hmm. And she got that down perfectly. I was like, I know, it was
really
insane. But that's a good idea. Literally, or doing tumblers maybe, or something like cups. Mm-hmm. Things like that. I think would be cool. But again, put a suggestion down in the comments, because the reason why we have these polos, the hoodies and stuff, was from people suggesting them. They wanted them, so I was like, okay, let's do it. Now the polos, I kind of was wanting them anyway because they look more official. If I go to an event or something, still can put the logo on it, but they just look better. But yeah, if there's anything that people want, put it down in the comments. I'm more than happy to answer.
All right, last question on my list.
All right.
What's one encouragement you'd give listeners as they head into the new year?
Oh, good one. Stick to New Year's resolutions. No. That's difficult. I would say, if you're not consistent with your walk, if there's, again, if you're not reading your Bible, if you're not doing this, whatever, again, I'm calling you out, but, the new year is a fresh start. So take that and, as our generation would say, lock in with God, all right? Lock in. And, I know it's difficult. People are busy. I'm talking, and I'm saying these things because I know it's true, because me and Davis are both busy. But, we need to make time for those things, make time for quiet, for prayer more, right? That's something, and that's another spiritual goal of mine, I think. I pray when I read, but not throughout the day. That's something I think, because a lot of people that tell me, they're like, I'm so close with God because I pray, so much to Him, right? I don't do that. That's not my first, indication to do that. And that's something I think a lot of people could work on, especially myself. I'm not, and it don't have to be the prettiest prayer on the planet, because me and Davis pray every week. I'm gonna tell you right now, mine aren't the prettiest prayers on the planet. All right. So, I would just say that, you have, I guess, kind of a great reset, so to speak. So, use that chance to, I don't know, yes, your relationship with God can improve, but also, I don't know, maybe reach out to that person that you've been wanting to share the gospel with, right? Do those things. Build those bridges back up that, you might have burnt, or that, this is a fresh start for you to do those things that you've been putting off, right? And again, I'm saying these things as somebody that had a bunch of stuff that he's put off himself, because we all get busy. But yeah, that is about that's what I would say, I think, for sure. But I will say this, just to tease more about the future. You will hear from Davis again, not once, but twice. I won't tell you when, but you'll hear from him not once, but twice. And that is all I will say about it, because if I say any more, I will leak the whole thing and be like, darn it, I just leaked everything. But dude, thank you for coming on again and interviewing me. And it is always a pleasure to have you on. And it's your 5th time, dude. So now
Podcast regular.
That's right. So now you have your own playlist on YouTube now. By the time this drops, you will. And but is there anything that you would like to say to encourage listeners before you pray us out?
I would just tell listeners to keep listening.
I am that. That's perfect. That's so down. I'm so down for that word of advice because he's not wrong. We have fun. We have a lot of fun. And again, like I said, thank you so much for coming on. But you think you can pray us out?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right.
Dear Lord, I ask that you would bless this podcast as it continues, and I pray that it would continue to grow and it would continue to honor you more and more every single episode. And I pray for Charlie that he wouldn't get burnt out, but continue keeping the faith and running the race that you have put in front of him. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen. All right. Thank you, bro.
With another episode of the Young Minds Podcast coming to a close, I just want to remind you that you are never alone and faith is action. So let's get out there.